So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some core things that you must do in order to create a compelling brand that attracts opportunities and people. And I'm going to walk you through my 5 simple steps so that you can go out and execute your brand. Contrary to popular opinion, your brand isn't actually what you think it is or even what you want it to be. Your brand is what everyone else thinks it is. It's what people say when you're not around. That's your brand. So let's start with a little analogy, a little story to get the juices flowing. What is the similarity or what's the difference between Martha Stewart and Monica Lewinsky? Now you might think, these two ladies don't have a lot in common at all, except that their names start with M, of course. But actually, they have a lot in common. Both Martha and Monica went through a very challenging period in their lives. They both experienced a scandal. Now, the difference between Martha and Monica is that Martha went through the scandal and came out the other side just as good as before, if not better. But Monica Lewinsky was never able to recover from the scandal that she endured. Why is it that one woman was able to sail through and come out the other side better and another one wasn't? Well, it's because of branding. If you think about it, Martha went into this scandal already having a really strong personal brand. She had crafted, created, and put her brand out in the world very intentionally for many years before we ever knew about the scandal that happened. Meanwhile, Monica Lewinsky had quite the opposite experience. Nobody knew who she was. She didn't have a brand, and she wasn't really findable in any way to the majority of people. So she became branded by the scandal. In fact, the scandal ended up pretty much taking over and consuming her entire life. So very big difference between these two ladies. And the difference was one crafted her brand very intentionally from the get-go, and the other one hadn't gotten to that yet. So what I want to impart to you is that when you become intentional about your brand and when you take the steps that I'm going to share in this video, you can take control of your brand. You can be the master of your brand. Rather than waiting for the world to decide what it thinks of you, you can influence that decision. You can influence how people view you and see you. So let's go over to the whiteboard and let me share something that I call the celebrity pyramid. The celebrity pyramid is based on this idea of what it takes to go from being a commodity to being a celebrity, because that is really what personal branding comes down to. It's moving up from competing with everybody in the market, with being just like everybody else, with being undifferentiated in the market, to being a celebrity that attracts and drives opportunities. Think of the difference in the world of just say regular commodities, like commodities trading on the open market. So coffee is a commodity. Rice is a commodity. Lentils are a commodity. Why are they a commodity? Because one barrel of rice is not very different from another barrel of rice. One barrel of coffee beans, not very different from another. So when you're operating on this level of commodity, there isn't a lot of differentiation. And in fact, the one thing that differentiates one commodity from another is simply the price. And often just a few cents of difference in a barrel will make the difference between who a buyer buys their rice or beans or lentils or whatever from. Now, it's the same in the world of people. Now, think about this in terms of, say, a doctor. There are lots of general practitioners out there, and they've become rather commoditized. And the differentiator between one general practitioner and another general practitioner generally is which insurance they take and where they are geographically. You don't see a lot of general practitioners getting people to fly across the country to visit them. However, as you move up this pyramid, what you'll see is that there are celebrity doctors out there that people do fly across continents, across oceans to get to because they're so amazing. It's a fictional example, but Dr. House, right? Dr. House was famous for being the best diagnostician, and he would diagnose these weird, rare hardly ever seen diseases, right? So he had a very special focus that he had that made him a celebrity, and people traveled far and wide to see him. So the distinction between commodity and celebrity, a celebrity can charge a lot more and sees a lot more inbound business, referrals, and opportunities come to them. Now, what is the difference? What does it take to go from being a commodity to a celebrity for you with your brand? What it takes is two things. One is specialization, and two is differentiation. So specialization is like specializing and narrowing your focus on a specific niche, like Dr. House focused on just doing diagnoses of rare diseases, right? As opposed to being for everybody. And this is a challenge I find a lot of entrepreneurs face. They get fearful, and I know I face this as well. They get scared of specializing. They get scared of focusing because they worry that if they close off all these doors that there won't be enough, and they are coming from a scarcity mentality. And what I have to say is that when you specialize, you make it way easier for someone to keep you top of mind for something. Now with the internet, especially with online marketing, with people doing research and looking for very specific topics, it's easier than ever to get found for your niche. So I highly recommend and encourage you to consider, what could you specialize in that you could become more known for and that would be easier to generate inbound business? So I'll give you an example. In Miami, everyone's a realtor. It's kind of a joke. And because everyone's a realtor, that market has become highly commoditized. However, I have a client that we worked with. She really wanted to brand herself. She wanted to generate more inbound opportunities. She wanted to get known. She wanted people to know who she was. And so she decided to specialize in a very specific area of the market. She decided to focus on distressed home sales. Now, the problem with the distressed home sales, though, which will lead her into number two, is that that's still a pretty competitive market. Now, in the celebrity pyramid, I skipped over the second layer. There's commodity, then there's specialist. And a specialist is specialized. Now, she specialized in this foreclosure distressed sale market, but she wasn't yet a celebrity. To get to be a celebrity, she had to do the second thing, which was differentiate. So step one, specialize. Step two, differentiate. So how she differentiated herself from this whole market was, she said, first of all, she decided to align the business with who she really was. Now, I'm not going to go deep into the concept of alignment here. I have other videos that talk about alignment, how to align your business with your truest self. But in this case, she first said, okay, what are my values? What am I committed to delivering to the market? How do I want to be in this space? And what she realized was that she didn't like this arena, this specialty where a lot of people were preying on people who were in financial distress. They were preying on them because they knew they were in trouble and they needed the money right then, right there. She didn't like that. What she wanted to do was align the business with her core values. Dignity was one of her core values. So she actually created a company that she differentiated called Deals with Dignity. And with Deals with Dignity, instead of preying on people and taking advantage of them in their lowest, most vulnerable moment, she created a new business model, a new differentiated way of doing distress sales, whereby she would purchase the house, she would give them the cash that they needed, and she'd make them a partner in the back end profits of the sale. Deals with Dignity. So she got to specialize and differentiate based on this idea that this is the only distress sale where you get paid twice. So look at how she went from commodity to specialist, and then from specialist to celebrity, because people started to pay attention, like, hey, we really like this way that she does business. And she would get referrals and opportunities. And actually, she would also film on social media the moment where she would come back to the family and give them that second check. And she would catch that on Facebook Live. And of course, that went out to her whole audience, and that got paid forward. This is how you move up the celebrity pyramid and enable yourself to be a brand that people are talking about, that people are referring you to, and then helping you move forward your business so that you're not having to do all that work. So I'd like to share 2 more examples of how this works, right? So in the commodity space, right, you can imagine that dog walkers are a real commodity, right? There's a lot of them out there. They walk dogs. It's not too special. It's not too different. And then if you move up to the celebrity pyramid, you find somebody like Cesar Millan, who has a whole methodology that he's developed in order to help dogs behave better. So he specialized in behavioral approaches, and he became a celebrity by differentiating himself with his unique approach, and that got him on TV. Another example is Super Nanny, right? There's lots of babysitters out there, and that's a commoditized market. And because Super Nanny has her own special way of dealing with kids, like kneeling down on the floor and looking into their eyes and listening to them and approaching children and childcare in a whole new way, that was her unique value proposition. That was how she differentiated herself as a specialist in child development. So that's how you move up the pyramid. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. And if you want more strategies on how you can brand yourself as a thought leader, brand yourself as someone who attracts inbound business, then go ahead and download my Monetize Your Magic playbook, which is free, by clicking on the link below. Enjoy!